And we have first up from the Conservatives, we have Mr. Poilievre.
Thank you. And thank you to our officials for a good overview. You've talked about the benefits. My questions relate to the cost. How is the government paying the $7 billion bill associated with this proposal?
That question is directed to who, Mr. Poilievre?
Anyone who wants to answer it. If they have anyone over there that is concerned about where the money comes from, that person could speak up.
Maybe you can choose one of the witnesses.
I don't know who on their side is responsible for this, but clearly they're getting the money from somewhere, so they must know where. Anyone here from Finance Canada?
Let's see, Mr. Baylor.
Mr. Chair, I can provide a high-level response, but I'm afraid I won't be able to answer directly the honourable member's question because we're here to discuss bill, and what I can say with regards to the cost of the measures in terms of Part 1, the three first programs that I mentioned, the hospitality, the tourism and hospitality recovery program, hard hit businesses recovery program, and the local lockdown program have a cost of $3.2 billion.
And where's sorry, Mr. Baylor, where's the money coming from?
Well, Mr. Chair, that is within the government's broader macroeconomic framework, and I'm not I can't speak to that.
So you don't have anyone. It's just that we're being asked to vote in favor of another $7 billion of spending. The obvious question is, where's it coming from?
Mr. Chair, as I indicated, I can discuss the contents of the bill, and I appreciate the question, but I can't answer that question.
Well, somebody's paying for it. Who is it? Did the Tooth Fairy? No answer.
The witnesses are here respectfully to answer questions to C2 as we study it.
Right. C2 has a $7 billion bill. That's the price tag. Right. That's what I'm asking about. Where's the $7 billion coming from? There's a lot of people who are willing to talk about how they're spending the money, but no one wants to talk about where it comes from. How many witnesses do we have here? We have the number? Mr. Chair?
10? Is it 10?
10 witnesses? 10 witnesses to tell us about how to spend money, but not a single one to tell us where the money comes from. Anyone, Mr. Chair, can you help us?
Mr. Poilievre, the floor is yours to ask your questions.
Well, I've asked the same question 5 or 6 times. No one seems to be able to answer it. I'm just worried that the answer is not one my constituents are going to want to hear. Because right now, I have 30-year-olds living in their parents' basement because housing inflation has priced them out of the market. I have single moms in my neighborhoods that can't afford a healthy basket of groceries to feed their kids. I have seniors whose savings are being vaporized by inflation. And now we have the prospect that deficits are going to drive up interest rates. So you can forgive me if my focus today is not on all the wonderful things the government's spending money on, but instead on where the money comes from. Because so far, all the money seems to be coming out of the pocket of the working class folks
Point of
who
order,
are paying
Mr. Chair.
record inflation.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I believe we have officials here who are speaking specifically to C2. I believe that the question that the member from the opposite side of the bench is asking questions that I think is more appropriately directed at our Deputy Prime Minister or our Minister of Finance. And I think he'll have that opportunity to ask her that question when she comes before us this Thursday.
Thank you, Ms. Zarowitz. The officials that are before us are here to speak to C2 and any of the technical matters within C2, any of the questions that should be posed to the Ministry of Finance or the ESDC. And yes, this shouldn't be political questions to non-political witnesses.
And one more point of order. I'm so sorry. One more point of order. I believe that the phone line is down. Can someone from the technical end of our team sort of look into that, please? Thank you.
Clerk? Yeah. Mr. Poilievre?
I have a strictly technical question. That is, where's the money coming from? $7 billion cost. The money must be coming from somewhere. Like, is there a money tree? Is there a printing press?
Point of order,
That's
Mr.
the
Chair.
technical question I'm asking. I appreciate the Liberals across the way don't want it answered.
As much as I love to hear the opposition member talk about this, I do think that we have wonderful officials here who are here to answer very specific questions around C2. Again, it seems like these questions are excellent questions. I think they could be directed to either our Deputy Prime Minister of Finance or our Minister of Finance, who is scheduled to come before us this Thursday.
Yeah, these excellent public servants are here not to answer political questions. I do agree with that. Mr. Poilievre, I just want to let you know you've got a minute left of time.
Well, I haven't asked a political question. I've asked strictly a technical question. Where's the money coming from? And I mean it literally. Like, where is it coming from? It's $7 billion. It must be coming from somewhere. If you believe money is a real thing, and you're here to tell us how you're going to spend $7 billion of it, clearly you'd be able to tell us where you're getting it. You're asking for us here in Parliament to vote for this $7 billion,
Point of order.
and
Sir,
you don't want to tell us where you're
we-
getting it.
Yesterday, this committee passed a motion where we laid out a schedule for our work for the coming week, the purpose of which was to make sure that different questions that members had could get answered. If I know Mr. Poilievre wants an answer to this question, that question is best directed to the Minister of Finance. We agreed on an itinerary, and I think it's important that we ask the questions at the time when the witnesses are present who can actually answer them. These witnesses are here to help us with C2, and I think the questions should be directed to them on those topics that they can answer. And then when the Minister is here, Mr. Poilievre and others can ask the Minister questions that are pertinent to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Just Mr. Poilievre again. It's so 30 seconds left on your time.
Well, I realize this is our first substantive meeting, but I'll tell the government members on this committee how it's going to work. You don't get to choose our questions. We choose our own questions. And my question is, where's the money coming from? You want us to approve another $7 billion of inflationary spending, and I want to know where the money is coming from. So one final time to anyone in the room, I'll open it up even to government members if they want to chime in. Where is the $7 billion coming from?
Mr. Poilievre, we're going to now be moving for 6 minutes to the Liberals.